This is 99.5 Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I'm your host, Michelle Malcolm. As always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon routine. Every Wednesday here on GPS, we focus on a topic that is of importance to your health and well-being. We call it Wellness Wednesdays. And today on our Wellness Wednesday show, we're going to be talking about inflammation. Inflammation is extremely important for you to understand because inflammation plays a great role in healing, but it can also play a significant role in disease. And we will explain as we go through. Now, I have to tell you guys, it's a lot of information. We may not get through all of it in one show. So we're going to cover as much as we can. And if we don't get through it all, then we'll do a part 2 next week, Wednesday. Okay? But we will get to as much of it as we can today. The telephone number is to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260271, or 3260272, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line to send us text messages only. Text messages only on the WhatsApp line, meaning do not call. The WhatsApp line is 801-0271, 801-0271. That's the WhatsApp number to send us a text message if you don't want to call in. Of course, for our Facebook audience, you can also put a comment on the Facebook page, and we'll try to get through as many of them as we can and put them up for everyone to see. So, hopefully by the end of this show, you will understand inflammation, what causes inflammation in the body, why it's important to the healing process, but more important, why it's also important that you understand it to avoid disease. Now, inflammation is a natural occurrence of the body, and it's actually a very necessary part of your body's healing process. When your body activates your immune system, it sends out inflammatory cells, and these cells attack bacteria or heal damaged tissue. So if your body sends out inflammatory cells when you are not sick or injured, you may have chronic inflammation. And This is not a good thing. Even though inflammation is a necessary part of healing, anything too much, even a good thing, is not a good thing. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And that is certainly the case when it comes to inflammation. Inflammation is a symptom of many chronic diseases, including arthritis, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. So we need to pay full attention to this show today, because a lot of people right now are suffering from long-term chronic inflammation, which is leading to all manner of disease. So let's start the show by giving you a brief overview of what is inflammation. Let's go to clip number 1.
What is inflammation? Basically, inflammation is a protective response by the body to something harmful. So, for example, if you cut yourself or get a burn, your body will produce an inflammatory response to this harmful action. Inflammatory responses are not only limited to physical harm. Other inflammatory response triggers include toxins, bacteria, viruses, allergies, stress, and even some foods such as fried foods, foods with high amounts of added sugar, and refined carbohydrate foods, just to name a few. So let's look at one way the body provides an inflammatory response. Let's say you get a splinter in your arm. Nearby white blood cells start to take action by releasing a chemical called histamine, which tells nearby capillaries to open up. As this happens, blood plasma enters the tissue area, slowing down any foreign invaders that may have entered with the splinter. This also causes some swelling. Other white blood cells in the area release chemicals called cytokines, which signal more white blood cells to the area. With the capillaries being open, the arriving white blood cells can enter the tissue and help fight any foreign invaders. The result of the inflammatory response is the destruction of any foreign invaders and any damaged tissue. So, inflammation is good. It's the body protecting itself. Well, yes, acute inflammation can be good, but there is a bad type of inflammation called chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation can develop several ways, with the most common being in the form of an autoimmune disorder. This occurs when the immune system goes into action to fight off a foreign substance, but there is no foreign substance. That results in damage to non-infected tissues, and as this happens over time, it takes its toll in the tissue being attacked. And that be the basics on inflammation.
And when he said basics, he really does mean basics, because I found several videos that go into far more detail about the inflammatory process. But I figured, I don't want to bog people down with that. But you can actually go to YouTube and just type in inflammation of the body, and a ton of videos will come up that if you're interested in learning exactly what happens during the inflammatory process, then you certainly can. So inflammation is extremely important. It's a good thing. God created your body to be intelligent enough to know when it's under threat and what to do to protect itself against that threat. So inflammation within itself is not a bad thing. It's very necessary. I imagine if our bodies weren't able to clot. So every time you got a cut, you would have to be concerned about bleeding out because your body wasn't able to respond to the trauma of that cut. Whereas your body instinctively knows what to do. If you receive some kind of injury or there's some strange pathogen that enters your system, your body already knows what to do to deal with that. And a major part of that process is the inflammation process. So inflammation is not a bad thing. That is acute inflammation. And when I say acute, that means in response to a specific threat. Okay? Like what have just been described in that clip. So you get a cut, your body responds. You fall down, you bruise your knee, your body responds. You get a burn, your body responds. Certain bacteria, etc., your body responds to that. That's called acute inflammation. Very, very necessary in order for you to be able to handle stresses on the body that happen from time to time. So thank God in his wisdom that he created our bodies to be able to respond to that. Very, very important. Now, the challenge is when that process just goes on and on and on and on and on, non-stop, day after day after day, now we're creating a problem, because that's not supposed to happen all the time. But yet, there are things that we are doing on a daily basis, or things that are happening to us on a daily basis, that are leading to what is called chronic inflammation. So the difference between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation is acute inflammation happens in response to a specific event. Chronic inflammation just keeps going and going and going. Now, in the clip, he said, with chronic inflammation, it's responding to nothing being there. Well, that's not quite true. And what I mean by that is that there's a reason why your body is putting out that response. Because there's something happening within the body that is making the body believe that it is under attack. Now, you would have heard me talk time and time again about the importance of not damaging your gut, because the gut is the barrier that protects things from getting into your bloodstream that aren't supposed to be there. And it is also the apparatus which is responsible for absorbing nutrients into your bloodstream that are supposed to be there. But when you constantly are damaging your gut, which is where most of your immune system resides, and you damage your gut to the point where things start seeping into your bloodstream that aren't supposed to be there, the body responds. Unfortunately, though, the body starts to attack itself. So this is where we get conditions like autoimmune illnesses, lupus, thyroid malfunction, and yes, even cancer. Because cancer is a disease of the immune system being underactive. And so inflammation plays a major role even in cancer. So it's important that we understand this. So inflammation is good, but too much inflammation, excuse me, is bad, as we will learn in this clip. Clip number 2, please.
Now, inflammation is a normal healing repair process, but the problem is when your body has chronic inflammation, all sorts of destruction can occur. And also an infection against a virus or a bacteria or another pathogen, it's our own body's reaction to that pathogen that creates the damage. In other words, it's our own immune inflammatory condition that creates the collateral damage that we should be concerned about and understand thoroughly in order to counter all this damage. I mean, think about a cytokine storm where you have this hyper-inflammatory immune response in your lungs. And doctors will give you prednisone, which is a synthetic cortisol, to help calm it down. But it's the excess amount of inflammation that really creates this collateral damage. And then you have autoimmune diseases, right? Crohn's, rheumatoid arthritis, even alopecia, which is like patches of your hair falling out, is an autoimmune disease. And the common theme for autoimmune diseases is inflammation. So if you can get rid of inflammation, you can get rid of the complications and symptoms and problems with that autoimmune disease. Then you have old injuries where the body then creates this inflammation that then can persist chronically over years, creating all sorts of scar tissue, stiffness. And I have firsthand knowledge of that with my left elbow, with my back, with my ankles, from all the massive injuries that I've experienced. And out of all the drugs, the top selling drugs, the number one worldwide selling drug is Humira. What is that drug for? Inflammation. And so a tremendous amount of people on this planet have too much inflammation. Now, before I get into the causes of inflammation, I want to touch on a new word that you may never heard before. It's called inflammatory onchotaxis. Now, what is that? It's a phenomenon where cancer tends to spread into areas of mechanical injury to your body. So we're talking about old injuries where there was inflammation, and that can be from many different things. You could have food irritation to your colon, where you have this repetitive inflammatory response in your colon where the cancer spreads into. It could be in the lungs where you're a chronic smoker, where you had inflammation. It could be in the arteries due to high levels of glucose because you are on a high carb diet. Or it can actually travel into breast tissue because you had some type of injury to your breast tissue. I mean, this is important data because this gives us prediction on where we might get cancer. So that way we can do something about it before we get cancer.
So, if you know anybody who is battling cancer or lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or Alzheimer's or listen, I could go on and on and on. Inflammation is most likely playing a role in that process. So, it's a very important thing that we understand, and not only understand, but know what to do to deal with it. Because while it's a good thing to respond to an immediate threat, if this continues to go on and on and on unabated, you're going to create for yourselves a problem. So this is why I thought it was important for us to do this show to talk about inflammation, because you hear about it all the time, and you hear about different aspects of inflammation. You heard him talk about the cytokine storm, which we've heard a lot about in this whole era of the pandemic. And so if you understand what that is about, then you would have a better chance, I think, of protecting your body against this type of inflammation. So when your body encounters an offending agent, such as viruses, bacteria, toxic chemicals, for instance, or suffers an injury, it activates your immune system. Now, if you are a follower of the show, you know that your immune system is mostly in your gut. I think 75 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So keep that at the back of your mind as we're having this discussion, because gut health is extremely important in this whole process. So your immune system sends out its first responders, which are the inflammatory cells and cytokines, substances that stimulate more inflammatory cells. And these cells begin an inflammatory response to trap bacteria and other offending agents, or start healing injured tissue. And the results can be pain, swelling, bruising, redness, but inflammation also affects the body's systems you can't see. This is why we really need to be paying close attention to this. So the difference, as I said, between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation is acute inflammation is response to sudden body damage, such as cutting your finger. To heal the cut, your body sends inflammatory cells to the injury, and these cells start the healing process that God in his infinite wisdom created our bodies to know exactly what to do. And it's a very complex process. Again, I didn't want to go deep into that today, but it's a very, very complex process that happens when when acute inflammation is necessary. And it just shows again how intelligent our bodies are, because this isn't something, thank God, that we have to think about or concentrate on for it to happen. It just automatically happens. That's the way the body was designed. The body knows what to do to heal itself. The body knows what to do to fix itself. And so immediately when we experience the trauma, our bodies go into action and begin the inflammatory response. So thank God for the inflammatory response, because without it, you're talking serious problems for us, So this is something that is absolutely necessary for us to be able to survive on planet Earth, where things are bound to happen. I mean, as kids, we fall down, we bruise, we cut ourselves, we burn out, we do all sorts of things. And so thank God that our bodies instinctively know what to do in such situations. Otherwise, we would really be up a creek without a paddle. Chronic inflammation, on the other hand, is your body continues to send inflammatory cells even when there is no outside danger. For example, in rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory cells and substances attack joint tissues, leading to an inflammation that comes and goes and can cause severe damage to joints with pain and deformities. Sorry. So, what are the symptoms of acute and chronic inflammation? Acute inflammation may cause flushed skin at the site of the injury. It may cause pain or tenderness, definitely swelling, heat may be caused as well. Whereas chronic inflammation, you're looking at things that may be harder to spot uh, than acute inflammation symptoms. And signs of chronic inflammation include things such as abdominal pain, chest pain, fatigue, for example, systematic lupus, fever, such as the cases in tuberculosis, joint pain or stiffness, for example, rheumatoid arthritis, mouth sores, such as in HIV infections, skin rashes like psoriasis. Those are just some examples, and even, like I said, cancers. So some of the conditions associated with chronic inflammation, which is involved in the disease process, many of these conditions includes Alzheimer's disease, asthma, cancer, heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, type 2 diabetes. All of these involve some form of chronic inflammation. So we need to now figure out, now that we know what it is, now that we understand the difference between acute and chronic, why acute is necessary and chronic is not desirable, we have to figure out what are the most common causes of inflammation. And a great part of the show today, and like I said, if we don't get through all of it, we will get through as much as we can and then make this a series and do part 2 next week, Wednesday. But the most common reasons for chronic inflammation include autoimmune disorders, such as lupus, where the body attacks healthy tissue, exposure to toxins like pollution or industrial chemicals, untreated acute inflammation, such as from an infection or an old injury, and we're going to hear more about that, and lifestyle factors. Some lifestyle factors contribute to chronic inflammation in the body, and you may be more likely to develop chronic inflammation if you drink alcohol in excess, if you have a high body mass index, in other words, you're overweight or obese. That falls with, if that BMI, body mass index, falls within the ranges of obesity, unless that is a result of being very muscular, then you are at a higher risk for systematic chronic inflammation. Exercise at your maximum intensity too frequently, so you can overdo it, or you don't exercise enough. You experience chronic stress, and if you smoke. Those are some of the things that can cause you to develop a chronic inflammatory problem. So in the series that we're going to do, I'm going to play, as you know, several clips, and we're going to begin by talking about the causes, at least 13 of them, that lead to you having a problem with chronic inflammation. And so we're going to go to, once again, Dr. Berg. I'll take the clips from here, Jason. And one of the causes that he's going to talk about is cortisol deficiency. Now, we know about cortisol. We've heard about cortisol being the stress hormone. We would have explained in the past the role that cortisol plays. Cortisol is very important. Back in the days of the caveman, you had if you were being threatened by a saber-tooth tiger, you had to figure out how to survive. So you could either run, or you could fight, or in some cases you could play dead. So if you decided to run or fight, your body knew what to do. It would pump you up with cortisol to give you more strength to be able to run faster, or strength to fight off this threat. Well, the challenge is in this day and age, the threat is your boss, or something less fatal, but your body is still responding the same way that caveman would have responded. And that constant release of cortisol is not good. So too much cortisol can actually lead to inflammation because it leads to cortisol deficiency. That doesn't make sense, right? Well, listen to this clip with Dr. Berg. I'll take it, Jason.
All right, let's start with number one, the first cause of inflammation. This is a lack of cortisol. It's the main anti-inflammatory hormone in the body, cortisol. And so how would you get a lack of cortisol? Well, guess what? By having too much cortisol. Too much cortisol, just like too much insulin, creates cortisol resistance. And so you have the situation where you actually have a lot of cortisol flowing through your bloodstream because you're under a lot of stress, but it's not effective. It's not working. So if you look at a condition like Cushing's syndrome, where you have high levels of cortisol, all the symptoms really relate to a deficiency of cortisol. That is because the receptors become resistant when you have high levels of that hormone flowing through your bloodstream. Same thing happens with diabetes. With diabetes, you have high levels of insulin because the glucose is high, but it doesn't work. That's why the blood sugars start going higher, because there's nothing there to push it down. Insulin is supposed to lower the blood sugar, but if it's ineffective, it's not going to do that. So any condition where you have an itis, whether it's bursitis, arthritis, tendinitis, usually involves a lack of cortisol, because you have too much cortisol, and that's creating the resistance. Too much cortisol is very toxic, just as too much insulin. So it's just one way your body tends to protect against excess amounts of cortisol. But in the process, it gives you a lot of other symptoms. Now, just so you know, the best thing for anything related to itis is vitamin D. And I'm going to get to some of the remedies after I'm done with the causes. But what you should know is any condition where you have a need of prednisone or more cortisol because you have inflammation, you can substitute that with vitamin D, and at least doses of 10,000 IUs, but probably 20 or 30 or even 40,000 IUs to create the effect, because vitamin D is the best anti-inflammatory. And it's not really even a vitamin, it's a hormone, which acts very similar to cortisol.
All right. So we know the importance of vitamin D. And by the way, once we get through all of the causes, like he said, we will sort of recap the solution to chronic inflammation. But top of the list, in addition to vitamin D, you got to control the stress in your life. You got to better manage that, because the more cortisol you put out, the more you will suffer from cortisol deficiency, or cortisol resistance, I should say. And that leads to cortisol deficiency. So you pumping it out, but it's not doing its job. And that is damaging to the body. So find a way to manage the stress in your life. And I know that's hard to do in 2022. My God, it seems every time you turn around, there's something else to stress you out. But you got to find a way to mitigate against that. You got to find a way to relax yourself, relax your body. Sometimes, at least take a day of the week. If you can't do it every single day, but you have to de-stress. You have to do it, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for certain disease. And sometimes you just gotta, shut everything and everyone off, because people will just keep coming at you. The phone will keep ringing. The kids will keep coming. The spouse will people just will keep coming at you if you allow them to. Sometimes you just gotta take a break, find yourself a quiet little space, and just decompress. This is extremely important to your health. You can't just always be there fixing everybody else's problem and creating one for yourself later on down the road. Find a way to de-stress, whether it means listening to classical music, even if that's not your preferred genres. It can be very relaxing. If it means reading the Bible, praying, just separating yourself as much as possible from the sources of stress. You have to do it. I try to take one day a week at least where I'm just like, don't call me asking me nothing. Let me decompress. Please give me a moment to decompress. And some people still don't get it. And I'm like, listen, I remember this one particular person was calling and going on about, what's going on with the pandemic. And I said, listen, right now, I'm in the middle of watching a comedy on TV. I'm trying to get my laugh on. The last thing I need to be thinking about right now is you stressing over the pandemic, because you stressing and me stressing ain't gonna make no difference. So please give me my time. Let me enjoy a good comedy, because laughter is good. They kept going. I said, did you not hear what I just said? I don't want to deal with this right now. Please leave me alone. Let me enjoy a half hour where I don't have to think about all of this. You got to do that sometimes, because people need to understand boundaries. If you don't de-stress and take care of yourself, I guarantee you down the road, you'll get up with something. And then you really gonna have stress. So find a way, whatever you got to do, to decompress so that you're not constantly under the gun. Very, very important. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about more causes of chronic inflammation. Like and share this show. Let everybody know it's a Wellness Wednesday, and we're talking about something that is extremely important, especially if you're battling any kind of chronic disease. You got to hear this. Stay with us.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, fuel, track life, tough, rough racing, velocity, mud, all-terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Less is love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here. On this Wellness Wednesday, we're talking inflammation in the body. Very, very important for you to understand because it plays a role both in health and healing and unfortunately in disease. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line 8010271, 8010271. Remember, the WhatsApp line is only for text messages. Hi, Bishop Henschel. I see you. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see him there on Facebook, as well as one of our regulars, Claudette Grant, who says, good afternoon, Michelle. Good afternoon, Bob. Welcome, guys. Please like and share the show. Let everybody know that it's a Wellness Wednesday on GPS, and they need to hear this information because inflammation plays a major role both in healing and in disease. So you got to make sure that you're not contributing to the disease portion. Okay? So we're now in the midst of talking about the causes of inflammation, chronic inflammation, not acute inflammation. Again, acute inflammation is a response to an immediate threat or an immediate, something injury. Whereas chronic inflammation is long-term, meaning it's been going on for quite some time on a regular basis, and that is damaging to the body. So another two major causes when it comes to chronic inflammation are allergies and chronic infections. Allergies and chronic infections. If you are constantly getting allergies, or if you are someone who has some kind of, infectious disease that is chronic, then you are most likely suffering from chronic inflammation as well. So again, here is Dr. Berg talking about the causes of allergies and chronic inflammation and chronic infections to chronic inflammation.
So you have the obvious food allergies, like you're allergic to dairy. Now that could be casein, the protein in milk. And so if you eat dairy, it's going to create a constant inflammatory condition in your digestive system. What about gluten? That's the protein in wheat. How many people are allergic to gluten? Many, many people. And even if you don't have an allergy to gluten, you can have a gluten sensitivity. Or dairy, you might have lactose intolerance, right? You're not tolerant to the milk sugar. So all these things can create inflammation. And then you have environmental allergies, right? So you have, I don't know, let's say you're allergic to ragweed or something like that. That's exposing your sinuses or your throat or your lungs to this environmental allergy, and it's creating an irritation and inflammation. Or what about poison ivy? If I come, I don't know, 300 feet next to poison ivy, I'll start itching. So I am deadly allergic to poison ivy, and I seem to get it every single year. And at this point, I can't take anything for it because it doesn't work. And then you have another type of allergy where you're allergic to your own tissues. Okay, that's called autoimmune. And you might not look at it like an allergy, but it's really an allergy to your own tissues where your immune system is attacking itself. You developed antibodies against your own tissue. And that could be for any tissue, like Hashimoto's, which is an allergy to your own thyroid hormones. You can have lupus, where you have this allergy to certain connective tissue. Or you can have MS, where you have this allergy to your own myelin sheath in your brain. Myelin sheath is the coating around the nervous system. And if you think about what is the main treatment for autoimmune, Humira is one of the medications, but they also use prednisone because cortisol is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Cortisol has an immune suppressive action. It basically turns off the immune system. So it just turns it off. So now you don't have all these reactions. The problem is it comes with a package. If you have no immune system, you're more susceptible to having viruses invade the body and all sorts of things happening that you kind of lose your immune army. And in that process, without inflammation, without immune reactions, it can give you a whole series of additional problems. All right, number 3, let's talk about that. You have either acute infections or chronic infections. Now, it's pretty simple to understand. You get exposed to a virus or a bacteria, and then your immune system kicks in. You have this inflammatory reaction, and then it goes away. But what happens when you get chronic infections where the virus goes into the body and it goes into a dormant state and it keeps coming out of remission and then goes back in the remission, like Epstein-Barr virus, like Lyme's disease. And there's many infections that lie dormant, waiting for the right opportunity to come out and kick you when you're down. So these latent viruses tend to come out during times of stress. And so stress is a trigger for this infection that then will create inflammation. And so this just tells us that we need to strengthen our immune system. And the way to protect ourselves and prevent these viruses from coming out is just to stay super healthy, and then you're protected.
Stay super healthy. Avoid stress. Avoiding stress could be things like exercising, going for a walk, meditating, sitting on your back porch and just observing nature. Whatever you need to do, avoid stress. Okay? That is extremely important because it creates a domino effect. And you don't want to go down that road. Trust me on that, because that's going to lead to a lot of problems. One of the ways that you have, and we're going to talk about this a little later in detail, where you have too much stress and you're secreting too much cortisol, which is leading to cortisol deficiency, is that extended stressful gut. When your gut starts to become inflamed, then you know that you have a problem. And that is another cause. Now, remember the importance of the gut in your overall health. You've heard me repeatedly talk about leaky gut syndrome, where because of stress or because of the foods that you're eating, some foods are inflammatory. Some foods are damaging to the gut. So foods like gluten, wheat, barley, rye, and oats, if you're eating that, you're damaging your gut, you're causing inflammation. But other foods like oils, If you're consuming oils, you're consuming an inflammatory causing food. So, when I tell you eliminate all oils, I mean all oils from the diet. But us in the Bahamas, we'd fry water if we could. We believe that everything got to be fry. Well, there's a cost for that. And that's why we see such high levels of cancer in this country, because we don't put down the oil, as an example. We don't understand that the more oil we consume, the more inflammatory response we will have. Is it worth it? Absolutely not. It's not worth that fried piece of chicken to put your body through that. But yet we won't stop. And then we act all brand new and surprised when the doctor tell you got cancer. Oh, the doctor trying to put cancer on me. Doctor ain't putting nothing on you. I talk about it all the time. Doctor ain't putting that on you. You put that on yourself. All right. So there's certain conditions that could definitely be avoided if we just cleaned up our diet. And we're going to talk about inflammatory foods a little later on. But you got to stop doing the damage, people. You got to stop doing the damage. So that extended gut. You ever see people who drink a lot of beers? They have an extended gut, right? That's because they're doing damage to their immune system. They're doing damage to their gut. They're drinking something that is causing inflammation. And that's why their belly is swollen. But it's not just beers. Anything made from hops, for instance. So your malts, extended gut. They call it bear belly. That's why you got that bear belly in front of you. You're a man and you look 6 months pregnant, because you're causing inflammation to your gut. And this is not a good idea, because that inflammation is leading to chronic disease. It ain't worth it. So you got to cut out the bad foods. You got to get rest. You got to be stress-free as much as possible. Manage that stress in your life. And understand that allergies are pretty much a sign of a problem with your gut. So it just makes sense. But gut inflammation, which is the next video we're going to look at, is a major part of the inflammatory problem.
So whether someone has an ulcer or gastritis or irritable bowel syndrome or some autoimmune disease, there could be several causes of this inflammation in the gut. Mainly it's going to be foods, okay? Now that could be a food allergy. It could be just inflammatory foods, as in high omega-6 fatty acids like soy oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil. These oils are so pervasive in our food supply, and you're going to be very susceptible to getting ulcers and inflammation in the gut, and even having a weak spot, so cancer can actually go into that area. Now, what about constipation? Well, that's like auto-intoxication. You have this lack of flow of food being digested and everything's getting backed up. So that can actually create some inflammation as well. What about antibiotics? If you take antibiotics, you wipe out your friendly bacteria that's there to protect you and reduce inflammation. So if there's some way that you lose your flora in your gut, that could be the cause of why you have inflammation in your gut. In fact, when that inflammation exists, then it develops scar tissue in the colon, and it can affect your ability to absorb nutrients, and it can create leaky gut that then leads to more allergies and autoimmune diseases and a lot of other problems. So as a side note, for any type of gut inflammation going on, the best food actually is cabbage. Cabbage has unique things in it that are really good for gut inflammation. And cabbage seems to be easy to digest, especially if it's in like a fermented form like sauerkraut or like kimchi, things like that. Or even like coleslaw or raw cabbage seems to be very, very beneficial for anyone with gastritis, with anyone with an ulcer, with anyone with inflammation in the gut. Another really good thing is the wheatgrass juice or wheatgrass juice powder, because the chlorophyll in there with other additional phytonutrients is very healing on the inside of your skin internally, whether it's in the throat, the stomach, the small intestine, or the large bowel. It goes in there and it tends to create a really cool effect. And what's ironic is wheat has gluten, but not wheatgrass juice powder, okay, because they capture it before the seed exists, so there's no gluten. So it's very, very healing, but then if you eat wheat, it'll actually destroy the intestines. Another really good remedy for gut issues is zinc L-carnosine. Okay, just remember that because that's a good remedy for ulcers, gastritis. It's a good form of zinc that is very, very healing.
Now, just a side note, he mentioned that cabbage is good for the gut. That applies to anyone who does not have a thyroid problem. Because unfortunately, cabbage is what they call a cruciferous vegetable, and cruciferous vegetables slow down thyroid function. So if you have an underactive thyroid, you do not want to be eating cabbage in any form. Cabbage, broccoli, some of my favorites, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, even kale are what you call cruciferous vegetables, and they're not good for people who have an underactive thyroid. Now, if you have an overactive thyroid, you want to be eating that because it helps to slow that down, okay? But he's absolutely right in terms of cabbage, especially like sauerkraut or fermented cabbage, excellent for the digestive system. But unfortunately, if you have an underactive thyroid, you don't want to do that because it'll make the matter worse. Okay. But do you notice a trend here? Do you see how it's all connected? You heard him talk about leaky gut. You see how it's all coming together? Because remember now, our philosophy as holistic health coaches is that the body is not just these individual systems operating in isolation. The body is all interconnected. So one system affects the other. And the gut is the epicenter in many ways. So if you're damaging your gut by eating oils, consuming oils, which are inflammatory food, or eating gluten, wheat, barley, rye, oats, antibiotics, long-term stress, all of these things that are damaging the gut, processed meats. You've heard me talk about the 12 bad foods repeatedly. Processed meats that have nitrates and nitrites in it, all these damage the gut, or are inflammatory foods. Wheat, barley, rye, oats, corn, and soy that are not heirloom corn and soy because they're genetically modified and because they are sprayed with glyphosate, which is another word for Roundup, which is a carcinogen within itself. All of the bad foods that you hear me talk about all the time, these are foods that should be avoided if you want to avoid the problem of chronic inflammatory response. There's no getting around it. Fried foods, obviously, that covers a lot of fast food items. Cured meats with nitrates and nitrites, very bad. Refined oils, trans fats, and the one that's coming up next is a big one for us as well. And that is refined sugars or refined carbohydrates, such as sugar, pastry, white bread, pasta, etc., which get into the body and become sugar in the body. Glucose is a problem. Too much of it. You need to have a balanced sugar level. So here now is more information on the role of a sugar imbalance in inflammation.
Yeah, glucose and sugar and the other foods that turn into sugar, like refined carbohydrates. What it does is it raises this glucose flowing through your bloodstream, and this very thin layer of cells, which is one cell layer thick in your arteries, becomes seriously damaged, and you get this inflammatory condition. And then the body heals with either a clot or plaquing, and the combination of cholesterol or protein or calcium. So you have this calcium buildup, and then you get heart problems and you get heart attacks and strokes. Other than that, you're perfectly fine. But when you lose the vascular supply and even the capillary supply to your eyes, you have eye damage, every different problem with the eye, like retinopathy, cataracts, macular degeneration. And if you lose capillary blood flow to the nerves, you get peripheral neuropathies. So you have this tingling and weird feeling in your feet. And high glucose also creates inflammation in your kidney and in your brain. Other than that, it doesn't pretty much attack anything else. Well, actually it does, but I'm just being sarcastic. Now, when you have high levels of glucose, insulin goes up. And then remember we talked about cortisol being resistant, insulin becomes resistant. And when you have insulin resistance, your body pumps out more insulin and you get more inflammation. So having the standard high carb diet is just creating a constant state of inflammation in many different parts of your body. But it's not only glucose that causes insulin resistance. It is also frequent eating, as in snacking. Every time you eat, you trigger insulin. So if you're eating so-called healthy foods, but you're eating a lot of snacks through the day, you're also going to create the same situation. So you need to go on a low carb diet, and you definitely need to do intermittent fasting. Very, very important. We'll touch on that in a bit. Now, number 6, your own fat cells, okay, can cause inflammation because there's certain type of pro-inflammatory molecules like cytokines that can then create more inflammation. And then inflammation itself can create insulin resistance. Interesting. So we have this two-way street where we have inflammation creating insulin resistance, and insulin resistance can create inflammation. It's a never-ending nightmare.
Is it on? It's a vicious cycle, continuously spiraling downward. It's too loud now. So, yeah, it's not worth it, people. You know, you got to learn to change your relationship with the foods that you're eating and understand that you do have alternatives and there are other ways that you can create the foods that you love, but in a more healthy fashion. Because it's just not worth it in the long run to continue to eat the way we eat. Think of a typical Bahamian Sunday dinner, right? I mean, in good times, because, in bad times, people, not everybody could do this in bad times, but in good times, think of a typical Bahamian Sunday dinner. You got your meat, and the meat is most likely fried. You got your peas and rice, starch. You got your macaroni and cheese, starch. You may have potato salad, starch. You may have corn, starch. You got some fried plantain. You ain't gonna find much green on that plate. Not a typical Bahamian meal. Don't look for nothing green. You could be looking all day for something green. Because, we just act like we're allergic to greens. No wonder, if you look at the way we eat, no wonder we have such a high prevalence of chronic disease. This ain't rocket science, people. We could look at the way we eat and predict the level of disease in our country. Ain't hard to figure out. Because we are in many ways contributing to the many chronic diseases that we are suffering from as a nation, because we're constantly introducing inflammatory foods into our system. And then on top of that, you got stress, which in this Bahamas seems heightened most of the time, just by virtue of living in this country. You under stress. For most people anyway. So you're talking a lethal combination. And this is why we're seeing younger and younger people come down with chronic diseases that back in the day only old people used to get. Because of the lifestyle we're living, the foods we're eating, the stress, all of that is contributing to chronic inflammation. And as we continue with the show, you will learn why that is not a good idea. So I want you to begin thinking how you can change your relationship with those foods that you love so much that you think you can't do without. I want you to start thinking how you're going to change your relationship. It's like, this may be a bad analogy, but it's like a person who's in an abusive relationship. And they keep getting abused. But they keep going back because they say, but I love him. I love her. And then, they make up after the abuse. And you get, a little bit of pleasure. And then right back again, that cycle continues. But you got to have a mindset shift. You got to have a paradigm shift. You have to change your relationship with that food that is abusing your body. Because, it make you feel good for the 5-10 minutes you eating that meal. But the hell I can put you through later on. Is it worth it? Is it worth you staying in that abusive relationship with your food? You got to change the way you look at it, people. You got to stop looking at that fried food as comfort and see it for what it really is. Cancer. Chronic disease, autoimmune conditions. That's what the fried food really is, but mostly cancer. So stop looking at that as comfort food, because there ain't nothing comforting about getting a cancer diagnosis. That ain't comforting at all. So we're going to take this break. When we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to be talking more about other causes of inflammation in the body. And if we have time today, we'll get to what you can do about it. Stay with us. This is GPS on a Wellness Wednesday. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here on this Wellness Wednesday. And today we are covering the topic of inflammation and the inflammatory response, what you can do about it, the causes, etc. Like and share the show, people. Let everybody know that we are on the air. And if you know anyone who is battling any kind of chronic disease, make sure you let them know they need to hurry up and turn on the radio or check us out online or YouTube or Facebook or wherever. What was the channel again on cable? It's 974 on cable, channel 974 on cable. Let them know y'all got to hear the show today, because hopefully you'll get something out of it that will help you to understand what you need to do to have better health. And let me just explain something as we go on for those of you who are new around here. Unfortunately, much of what you're learning in the show today, you're not going to learn from your MD, because MDs manage disease. They manage the symptoms. Okay? So they will give you an inhibitor, something to stop the inflammatory process. But we know the inflammatory process is not the problem. That's a good thing. The problem is when it doesn't turn off. So as opposed to trying to stop the process, the smarter thing to do would be to address the problem that's causing it not to turn off. Don't you think? Don't you think that would be the smarter approach? Well, unfortunately, that's not the approach. The approach is to try to block the immune system from doing its job. And that's not a good idea. God, in his infinite wisdom, created your immune system for a reason. And no matter what they tell you, man is smarter than God. So if we would cooperate, treat our bodies the way that they're supposed to be treated, not continuing to do the ongoing damage, giving the body what it does need to function, and obviously we have to talk about that aspect of this whole discussion. Your body is wise, knows what to do to fix itself. But no, we want a quick fix. So we run to the MD, they give us something to stop your system from working, and then that relieves your symptoms, but now it's creating another problem. This is not a good idea, people. And this is why I often say that when it comes to long-term chronic illness, we've taken the wrong dog to the hunt, because we're going to people who don't understand the role of nutrition and your body's ability to heal itself. As far as you're concerned, the only thing we can do is manage your illness and make you comfortable. Utter garbage. So you have to get to the point, people, where you need to take some responsibility for your own health. And I'm not telling you to avoid doctors, because they play a very important role, particularly as it relates to trauma care. But you got to start being responsible for your own health. You can't continue to use ignorance as an excuse to continue doing damage to your body, or using your culture as an excuse to continue doing damage to your body, and then acting all surprised when you come down sick, and then asking everybody to help you out with cookout tickets and pray for you and ask the Lord for divine healing and all these things, simply because you don't want to stop eating fried food. Particularly those of us in the church, God ain't pleased. God is not pleased. He made us to be stewards of this one body we get. We only got one. We ain't got a body in reserve. And we are supposed to be good stewards of this one body he gave us to travel this earth on, or with, or in. And we abusing this body left, right, and center. Oh, we spiritual now. We know how to pray down every demonic possession, and we know how to, tear down every demonic stronghold. We good at that. But we can't discipline ourselves to stop eating garbage. How is it? Real quick story, and then we can go back to these causes. I got to tell you this little joke. True story. Many years ago, I went to Israel, my one and only trip to the Holy Land, with I was at BFM at the time, and it was a church. It was a group of churches from the Americas and the Caribbean that we used to go there as they would have these yearly trips to the Holy Land that you could go as a group. And so it was one of those trips. And there was this one particular African American woman who was rather obese. And for throughout the time in Israel, we would go to different, spots, different parts of the country, and, they would apply it to biblical texts and all this kind of stuff. And each spot that we went to, because there were several pastors on this trip, each spot that we went to, a different pastor would deliver a different sermon relative to where we were, the biblical story, etc. It was a wonderful trip. Oh my God, it was such a wonderful trip. So anyway, this African American woman, every time a preacher would come on and start talking about, the biblical significance of where we were and all this kind of stuff, she's sitting there, oh man. It almost became an annoyance throughout the talk or the lecture or the preacher or whatever you want to call it. Amen. Amen. So the late Turnell Nelson, I don't know how many of y'all know who he is or was. He was a preacher from Trinidad and Tobago, fire and brimstone. And Turnell Nelson had this strange voice. If you didn't know no better, you would think something was coming on him, because he used to talk like this. So Turnell was responsible for preaching this one particular message. I think it was at Masada. So he there preaching. And she right there, amen. Amen. So he was talking about the 7 deadly sins. So then he says, the next deadly sin is the sin of gluttony. Jason, we ain't here no more. Amen. It's going quiet. Your belly is your God. No more amen. You don't know how to turn down your plate. You're suffering from the demon of gluttony. I hear no more amen for the rest of the trip. She going quiet, quiet, quiet. See, because she was so spiritual. I ain't talking to us in the church now. Oh, we spiritual. We know how to call down heaven. But you ain't know how to control what you put in your mouth. Claudette laughing. You don't know how to control what you put in your mouth. You can't control that demon of gluttony. You will eat all kind of garbage. And even when you get warning, you're still eating the garbage. You ain't trying to hear that. Then when you come down with these diseases, the devil is a liar. I don't receive this. Man, y'all need to stop. Stop the madness. Stop contributing to your sickness and then blaming the devil. I know the devil say, why these people don't stop lying on me? I have nothing to do with you eating that fried chicken every day. Why are you trying to blame me for that? Michael says, so Michelle, I see why you keep looking so young. Dilly and soursop all day. Man, you know how many superfruits we got knocking around here rotten? Like we would say rotten on the ground. Superfruits, loaded with nutrition. And these young people don't even know how to identify some of them nowadays. Somebody was telling me the other day, their son didn't know what a dilly was. I didn't want to try it. When they tried to get him to eat a dilly. They don't know. You know what dilly we grew up on? Superfruits. But we want to eat the fast food. We lead the world in fast food consumption. Y'all ain't ashamed? It's a good thing to lead the world in the Olympics and the World Games, but in eating fast food? And we wonder why we so sick. And then when we blaming the devil and everybody else, except yourself, the Lord is not pleased. Stop doing damage to your body and then talking about pray for divine healing. How about you participate in not getting sick to begin with? How about that? Can I get an amen? Let me stop. Let me focus. I digress. Let me get back to the matter at hand. And we're going to talk about diet a bit more later on, but understand that the Mediterranean diet is a really good diet if you want to avoid inflammatory foods. So the Mediterranean diet includes a lot of oily fish, such as mackerel or salmon, sardines, leafy greens, which we seem to be allergic to. You should eat a lot of olives. I don't recommend the olive oil, but olives. You still get the oil in the olive if you eat the olive whole, but you don't have to worry about oxidation. There are other, look up the Mediterranean diet and see how the Mediterraneans eat. And we need to adopt more of that type of lifestyle. But if we keep eating the way we eating, y'all, then we can keep putting pressure on PMH, on stressing on them poor doctors in there. The recent challenge that we had with not enough beds was not because of COVID. It was because of non-communicable disease. They ain't got sufficient beds. Now, yeah, I get it. We ain't got sufficient beds, period. But the point is, if y'all continue stressing the hospital system this way, y'all can cause something to crash. And then what? So I know I sort of ran off course with that, but I just wanted to throw that in there. We gotta do better, people. We gotta do better. So the next cause of inflammation, old injuries and problems with your bile duct these can lead to chronic inflammation as well. So let's go to that next clip.
Old injuries can put you in a state of stiffness, inflammation, chronically. And so it's very, very important if you have old injuries and you have like arthritis to not also consume a lot of high glucose or any glucose. You want to be on a low carb diet to keep your inflammation at a minimum. And there's other things you want to do as well. But if you have arthritis and inflammation because of old injuries and you're still consuming carbs, I don't care how much turmeric or vitamin D or remedies that you take, it's not going to really work. Sometimes I'll see people with really bad arthritis and they're just taking pills, they're taking fish oil, and they're thinking that's going to solve the problem, when in fact, it's not going to even create a dent into their problem. And that is why I'm doing more of a comprehensive approach to this topic, because it's so important. Now, the next problem is very interesting. It is where you have a problem in your bile ducts. The bile ducts are the little tubes that connect from your liver to the gallbladder or small intestine. And if you have too much sludge in these little tubes, or you have a stone like a gallstone, that can create a lot of inflammation, usually on the right side of your body. Suspect there could be something wrong with the gallbladder, or usually it's going to be in the bile duct a little bit higher up, and you might have some sludge, not even a stone, but a thickened sludge caused because you don't have enough bile salts. I can't tell you how many times I've had patients come into my clinic when I was in practice with this problem. It's very, very common, yet not many people know about it. And they're getting all sorts of rehab treatments. They're taking thousands of vitamins, and it's not working. Okay. A real simple remedy for that condition is to start taking bile salts. Okay. Purified bile salts. And there's a lot to know about it. I put a link down below if you want more information. But another really good thinning agent for that problem is TUDCA. And you can buy it online and you take it on empty stomach, and it thins the bile, allows the flow of this sludge to go through, and magically all that pain goes away.
Ironically, I have a family member right now dealing with that bile situation. You have to understand that a major part of this is nutrition and good eating, because I say it all the time, and I will keep saying it because some of y'all a little slow, or just me and you won't hear me. But no amount of nutrition can outdo a poor diet or toxins. Repeat after me. No amount of nutrition can outdo a poor diet. So you could be taking vitamins, even the right kind, until you blue in the face. And I say the right kind, and we're going to talk about that because not all vitamins are created equal. The synthetic ones, waste of time and money. So some vitamins are better quality because of the way that they're formulated and the source of those vitamins. Okay. But in any event, even the good kind will be severely limited in effectiveness if you continue to put garbage down your throat. There is no amount of nutrition that can outdo a poor diet. None. Nutrition works wonders. I have seen the miraculous happen. But whenever I come across a client, I put them what I know to be a good nutritional program, and then a month later, we come back and their numbers have not improved or digressed, my first question is, what have you been eating? First question. Because I know the nutrition works. So I'm not blaming the nutrition. I know it works. I've seen it work too many times. So my question is always, what are you eating? When they start stammering, you know what the answer is. I only had a little bit of bread, but then why are you acting all surprised? When you know you ain't supposed to eat that bread. Why are you acting shocked? Why are you trying to blame the nutrition for not working when you pouring gasoline on a fire you're trying to put out? Because that's what it is when you continue to eat poorly. No amount of nutrition will outdo a poor diet. It ain't gonna work. So we have to pay closer attention to what we're putting in our mouths. That's a part of the process. There's no getting around it. No nutrition will outdo toxins. And that's the next thing that we have to talk about in terms of causes. Environmental toxins. Very, very important. No amount of nutrition you could take nutrition from now till kingdom come. And if you are being exposed to an environmental toxin, nothing could change. Matter of fact, it'll get worse. So let's take this quick break. And then on the other side, we're going to talk about environmental toxins as it relates to inflammation. And we're also going to talk about a particular supplement that you may get too much of that could also cause a problem. Then I think we're actually going to get through all of it today, y'all. Then we'll look at what you can do. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. Today is Wellness Wednesday. We're talking inflammation today, y'all. Chronic inflammation and why it is not a good idea to continue to introduce inflammatory causing foods into your body, to continue to stay under stress, continue to do these things that are causing the inflammatory response every single day of your life, because that is leading to all manner of disease. The telephone numbers to call 3260271. Now I used to y'all on a Wednesday. I know y'all don't call on Wednesday. I might as well stop even giving out these numbers, Jason, because I guess it's because there's so much information that's coming forward. I've become used to not getting any calls on Wednesdays, and that's fine. I'm glad that hopefully you're listening, but please like and share the show. Please like and share the show, especially if you know anyone who is suffering from a chronic disease. This could be the key to them getting better. Knowledge is power only if applied. And I get it, some of y'all, your relationship with food is so, that's such a stronghold in your life that you could hear all of this and still go back and eat that fried food. Because that may be, the only comfort you get in life. But just remember, that ain't really comfort. You got to see it for what it really is. That's a temporary comfort, but when that turn back on your head, and you now have this chronic disease you got to deal with, ain't uncomfortable about that. So you got to make some changes, people. We have to do better in terms of what we put into our mouths if we expect to get better, if we expect to not have so many chronic diseases that are killing us slowly but surely. All right, environmental toxins is a big one. Now, you all notice my pet peeve because I was exposed to black toxic mold, Stachybotrys, one of the most lethal forms of black toxic mold that nearly took my life. And as you all know my story, I was taking vitamins like nobody's business. Every month, a big box of nutrition used to arrive for me, praise God. And I remember one day, I think it was a customs agent or somebody said I was living in Bimini. Michelle, you selling these things? I said, no, man, I taken these myself. All of this? I say, yeah, man, I bottling something. I know what it is, but I figure whatever it is, I can fight it with nutrition. Well, thank God I was taking the nutrition. As I later learned when I finally figured out what was wrong, that was helping my body to fight. But even with all of that nutrition I was taking, I kept getting sicker and sicker. Had I not been on that nutrition, I probably would have been a memory right now, pushing up daisies. Thank God I was taking the nutrition that was giving my body something to fight with, but it was a losing battle. And eventually, had the Lord not revealed to me that that is what I was dealing with, I am convinced I would have died in that place because I was being exposed to a toxin morning, noon, and night. And just like eating poorly, no amount of nutrition will outdo environmental toxins. Here now is Dr. Berg once again talking about the challenge with environmental toxins and how frequently you eat.
All right, then we have environmental toxins like plastics in the environment. Silicone breast implants could be a source of inflammation, and the thousands of other chemicals that we are bathed in on a regular basis. Now, I want to mention number 12 a second time because it's very, very important. It's not only the glucose that stimulates inflammation, it's the frequent eating because of the high levels of insulin. So one of the most important things you can do on top of everything else if you have inflammation is go low carb, okay? But really do the healthy version of keto because that way you're adding in more nutrients. You're not just focusing on low carb. You're focusing on high quality foods that also give you additional health benefits, like really, really great cruciferous vegetables and large amounts of salad, which have phytonutrients that are very, very anti-inflammatory with loads of antioxidants. Because when you have inflammation, you're getting a lot of free radical damage. So you want the antioxidants from the food, as well as you want the antioxidants from your own body. Your body makes endogenous antioxidants. I'm talking like antioxidant networks. And one of the big stimulants for that is fasting. And one of the things that just crushes and destroys these antioxidants is frequent eating. So fasting is really key for inflammation.
So fasting can be a good thing, not just for spiritual reasons, but for health reasons as well. Intermittent fasting is good. Extended fasting is good. So if you're not fasting, you want to incorporate that into your routine as much as possible, because it's really very good for your health. It really helps to reset the body. Now, the thing is, speaking of resetting the body, it doesn't make sense to reset and then go back to the same habits that got you in the problem in the first place. That's kind of counterproductive. Don't make much sense. But you definitely want to ensure that you are not in an environment where you're being exposed to toxins. And oftentimes, when I do consultations with clients and I look at their numbers that are crazy high in all four categories of disease, I usually start asking questions to make sure I rule out the possibility that they are being exposed to some kind of toxin, because most times you'll see their numbers high in one category, two, maybe three. But when you see those numbers high in all four categories, either you have a really damaged gut, and so you're not absorbing anything as far as nutrition is concerned, or you're being exposed to some kind of toxin, or maybe both. But usually when I see that, I start asking specific questions to rule out whether or not you're being exposed to a toxin. And once we rule that out, and most times, I'd say 8 times out of 10, it's a toxin. So I'll start asking when I see, okay, I'm seeing a pattern here, and I'll start asking specific questions. And then sure enough, yeah, I have a problem with this. Yeah, I have a problem with that. Bingo. You're being exposed to a toxin, because no amount of nutrition will outdo a poor diet. Now, speaking of nutrition is extremely important. Good quality nutrition, because not all supplements especially are created equal. Some are far better than others. Now, the reason why it is important for you to supplement is because, unfortunately, we aren't getting all the nutrition that our bodies need from food alone. We've been through this many times. Soils have been depleted over the years. Proliferation of genetically modified foods, which your body doesn't know what to do with. Everything they spray in with Roundup, things like soy and corn, Roundup, carcinogen. Genetically modified foods that your body don't know what to do with, and then on top of that, they spray them with these chemicals. It's bad for your body. But even if you go organic, which you should, because of the depletion of the soils over the years, the soils don't have the nutrients in it anymore as much as they should. So even if you go organic, you're not getting everything that you need from that food. You have to supplement, but not all supplements are created, because some supplements are not plant derived. Some supplements, by virtue of the way that they are formulated, are just a waste of time, energy, and money, because your body cannot absorb it. Synthetic vitamins, forget about it. I keep telling you all, man is smarter than God. So if you are getting vitamins that are made from minerals in their raw state, or synthetic vitamins as opposed to plant-derived vitamins, then don't act surprised when your body does not respond positively to your vitamin regimen, because not all vitamins are created. There's a reason why longevity, for instance, costs what it does compared to one a day that you buy over the counter. One a day is that cheap for a reason. And I can leave that right there. You're smart enough to figure out what I'm trying to say. Right? So you need to be on the right type of nutrients. But there is one particular nutrient out of the 90, because you remember now, we talk about it all the time. Regulars here know 90 essential nutrients. And when I said essential, most your body can't manufacture some of these. So that's why some of them are essential. But you need 90 nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids every single day. That's just what the body needs to function optimally. No matter what your health condition, that's the foundation. Okay? But there's one particular nutrient that you have to be careful with in terms of the quantities that you're taking in and how it is processed, because too much of it could also lead to chronic inflammation. So let's go to that clip.
Now, iron is a mineral. It's a trace mineral that you don't need in large amounts, and our bodies don't have mechanisms to get rid of iron. When you get an infection, both the good bacteria and the pathogens compete for this iron. Apparently, they eat iron. And so our bodies have this interesting mechanism to bind up iron during infections. And this is why people have a higher incidence of getting anemia when they have infections. And if you're deficient in iron going into an infection, and then you're coming out of an infection and you're fatigued and you have anemia, it could mean that you need more iron. And that's just a side note, but some people that have like a post-COVID fatigue, sometimes they need some iron. But typically you don't want to overdo it with iron, because too much iron in your liver can create cirrhosis and create a lot of inflammation and a lot of scar tissue and fibrosis in the liver. But iron in general, in large amounts, can create inflammation.
Now, the good thing about our program is that all of the nutrients are measured to a T, because some of them you really don't need a lot of. Some of them, whereas you need macronutrients, large amounts, some are micronutrients. In other words, you don't need a whole lot of it. You just need, very, very small amounts. And the challenge is you got to know what you're doing in terms of balance. This is why I love our program, because they're already pre-measured for you. So you're getting exactly how much the body needs, not too much and not too little. Balance is really, really important. You have to have that balance in terms of exactly the amount that the body needs. And the challenge is when you start taking that specific mineral and it goes above the amount that the body needs, that could create inflammation in the body. So you got to be very smart and make sure that you're on a good program where you get all of the nutrients that you need in measured amounts, so that you're not getting too much or too little, which is why sometimes people sort of frown on the bush medicine remedies, because we know bush medicine is good. The challenge is you don't necessarily know the measurement of how much of the good thing you're getting. And especially if you're taking other stuff, that could potentially cause a problem if you take too much of one thing. So balance is extremely important, and this should not be guesswork. It should be something that has been measured, so you know exactly what you are dealing with. So Kayla says, Yes, I had to come off all my vitamins and stop the iron. Well, Kayla, I don't know what vitamins program you were on. The key is that you want to get to the point where you stop medication, not nutrition. What always amazes me is when, and I always say to people, make sure that you're checking with your doctor, because once you start taking quality nutrition, your body's going to start to do what it's supposed to do. And then you'll have too much of the medication in your system, because the medication, remember, is designed to replace your body's function. So if you have your body functioning better, plus you're taking the medication, which is supposed to, you're going to have a challenge. So let your doctor be the one to decrease the medication. What often happens is people's bodies start to function, and then they say, oh, I had to come off the vitamins because, why are you going for the vitamins? Go to your doctor, let your doctor decrease the medication. That would make more sense. But the first thing they stop is the nutrition. Anyway, I don't understand that. The idea is to get you to the point where your doctor can decrease the medication because your body is now functioning the way it should be functioning. That's the goal, not to stop taking the nutrition, because the nutrition that's the construction team. That's the construction crew. The nutrition is going to help rebuild your body, regenerate your body, so your body can start to function the way it's supposed to function. But the first thing they stop is the nutrition. Make it make sense. I don't get it. Anyway, Miko says we should not play doctor or nutrient specialist on ourselves. The science is always advancing. As regular individuals, we are not following the science as specialists. We are not following the science as specialists and doctors. The thing, though, Miko, is doctors only know what they know. They don't understand nutrition. And so therefore they will keep you on the synthetic stuff because that's all they know. So the idea is for you to take nutrition and let them be the ones to decrease the synthetic stuff. That's the idea. Otherwise, you're going to be on that synthetic stuff for the rest of your life. You will never heal. You will always be managing your disease. Okay. So finally, now that we've talked about all of the causes, I want us to turn our attention to what to do if you suspect that you are suffering from chronic inflammation. What do you do? Here now is that clip. Jason, is the pod open? Is the audio open for the clip? Okay, here now is that clip.
The most important thing is have enough vitamin D, at least 10,000 IUs. But if it's a chronic problem, take more. Take 20, 30, even 40,000 IUs. Anytime you take vitamin D3, though, you also need K2 at the same time, especially if you're taking it on a regular basis, because vitamin K2 helps prevent the calcium buildup in the arteries. So K2 drives calcium from the blood and the joints back into the bone. So if people are concerned with the side effect of vitamin D toxicity, which is hypercalcemia, because the calcium builds up in the arteries, well, guess what? K2 handles that. It protects you against this excess calcium. So they both work together. So realize the ratios are 10,000 international units of vitamin D3 to 100 micrograms, not milligrams, of K2. Okay, so that's the ratio. So if you go up with your D3 to 20,000 IUs, then you need 200 micrograms of K2. Avoid those things that are triggering your allergies, like in environmental allergies, as in food allergies. That's really, really important. But what's really interesting about allergies in general is that you can get rid of allergies by doing periodic prolonged fasting. Yeah, because you strengthen the immune system when you do fasting. Chronic infections, the best way to handle that, especially if it's like Epstein-Barr virus or some type of virus that's lodged in your body, is to take regular vitamin D, which is good for the immune system, as well as regular vitamin C. But make sure the vitamin C is not synthetic. Use a whole food form. You can also do herbs that are antibacterial as well, because they don't have the side effects like garlic, thyme, oregano oil. All right, for any gut issue, don't forget about zinc L-carnosine, a really good form of zinc. And for heart problems, okay, like in heart attacks, preventing heart attacks, things like that. One of the best vitamins is vitamin E, but not tocopherol. You want to take tocotrienols, okay, 300 milligrams. Very, very important because it's like 50 times stronger, and it can actually clean up the free radical damage and inflammation in the heart. And realize that you also need to, at the same time, get rid of the cause of that problem, which is consuming too much sugar. Okay, you got to go low carb to really get rid of that oxidation that's happening. But vitamin E can greatly reduce the inflammation in the inside of your arteries, as well as the inflammation in your liver. Low carb, intermittent fasting, vital and important action. Okay, that's the most important thing you can do. You need to do intermittent fasting and periodic prolonged fasting. That's going to drop inflammation. Also take regular amounts of vitamin D, and turmeric is a very, very good natural compound to reduce inflammation. Just make sure that the source of turmeric is from a really good place. There's a lot of herbal things you can take for inflammation, like stinging nettle root, another one of my favorites. Anytime you have right-sided inflammation or pain, don't forget purified bile salts, or TUDCA is a type of purified bile salts that you can take. But then you need to work more on the gallbladder and, of course, your diet as well. Start increasing your omega-3 fatty acids, which I talked about, and decreasing your omega-6 fatty acids. Be careful with the iron. So I wouldn't recommend cooking in iron skillets. I wouldn't recommend taking these multivitamins, the real popular ones with a lot of iron in them. Not a good idea. In fact, I'm very hesitant taking any vitamins with added iron unless it's in the right form. But you'd be shocked to find out some of the lead multivitamin minerals really just have this like iron, or this elemental iron that is like not the right type for our bodies. And the other problem with iron is fortified in all the grain products. So in one video I did a while ago is I showed people how you can take a magnet, okay, a strong magnet, and dump out like a box of cereal on a platform, take the magnet, and it picks up the cereal because of the added iron, the fortification of iron in those wheat products. But of course, if you've been watching my channel, you're not consuming grains, so you're totally safe.
Can you imagine that? Fortified, when you see it fortified with iron, you think that's a good thing. Can you imagine a magnet picking up cereal? That ain't supposed to happen. So it goes right back to what I was saying prior to the clip. It depends on how those minerals are formulated. Okay? Because if it's just an iron ore that they're fortifying your food with, that passing straight through you, your body can't absorb it. So not all supplements are created equal. That's the bottom line. You need a supplement program that your body can absorb. That's the bottom line. And this is why, some supplements are more expensive than others, because you're talking about, I often compare, what we have to, somebody say, well, I just take such and such. I say, miss, right now you comparing hamburger meat to filet mignon. The hamburger patty has a less quality grade of meat compared to filet mignon. So that's why that over-the-counter thing only costs you $3 or whatever it costs, compared to something that's going to give you medical grade level nutrition. But it's the medical grade level nutrition that's actually going to make a difference, especially if it's formulated the right way. It has to be something that can be absorbed by the body. That's the key. Okay, so what else can you do? So in order to avoid inflammation, you want to do certain things, like you want to achieve and maintain a healthy weight. So if you are overweight or obese, you got to try turn on your plate. You got to try eat healthier. You got to, avoid the things that are causing you to overeat, etc. And a big part of that could be nutritional deficiencies. You keep eating because your body is craving nutrition. So making sure that you get adequate nutrition in your body so that you could stop overeating. Healthy weight is extremely important. Amen. Amen. Okay, so achieve and maintain a healthy weight. That's one thing that you can do to avoid inflammation. Another thing you can do, if you are a smoker, maybe it's time to put that down. Quit smoking. Ain't nothing good about that. Nothing. And again, it is nothing more than a pacifier. Like the baby need a passy in their mouth to soothe them. That's all you doing, big grown man, woman. You soothing yourself with that cigarette. Man up, woman up. Stop smoking. There's nothing good about that. Try to get some, now this one I must on gone. Try to get some exercise in. I'm not doing, prior to the pandemic, to lockdowns, I was doing good, man. I was in the gym and I was working out, and then the lockdown happened, and then I, started walking around the house a couple of times a week, and then that decreased, and now I got to get my act together. I got to start exercising again. But exercising at least 3 to 5 times a week, even daily is good, but get some form of exercise. And it don't have to be, even just a walk around the house a couple of times, walk around your yard a couple of times. Try to do it for 20 minutes, half an hour. And I'm talking to myself right now. Limit your alcohol intake. Okay. If it's beer or malts, eliminate that altogether. Anything made with hops, because that's damaging your gut, has gluten. But limit your alcohol intake because that's high in sugar. And we already heard through the show why that's not a good idea. And finally, manage your stress. Try using healthy tools like meditation, journaling even, listening to soothing music, whatever you need to do, get away from that stress. Find yourself a quiet corner, get away from all of the stress, and try to center yourself. Extremely important to maintaining good health. We got to get it together, y'all. We got to fix this because, as sick as we are as a nation, if we don't fix this problem, we in for some serious problems going forward. We as a nation can't afford that. We can't afford to be as sick as we are. It's going to affect productivity, which is going to increase the strain on the healthcare system, which is going to increase the cost of having to upkeep it and fix it, which is going to increase the taxes, which is going to add to everybody's stress. And it's a vicious cycle. So let's get it together, y'all. We got through it all, y'all. There will be no part 2 next week because we got through it all. All right. So tomorrow is Thursday. We have a really good show planned for you tomorrow. So be sure to tune in. We're going to be talking about recidivism and fatherlessness. There is a connection. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wellness Wednesday. I will see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. Be safe.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of